This feels bizarre. How do you start a YouTube video when you've literally been off the grid for like 3 years? Like, what do you say? Do I just say like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while. My dog is very confused and concerned at what I'm doing right now. I used to do this all the time, Brody. Like, this used to be my life. Yeah. I still have my dog, by the way. Brody just turned 7. He's the best roommate. So obviously it has been a very, very long time since I have posted anything on YouTube. The last time that I was like consistently filming YouTube videos was the summer of 2019. At that time I was going into my 4th year of teaching, and I think the last kind of round of videos that I was filming, I was talking about how the previous year I had moved down to 2nd grade for a year. It did not work out, and so I was very excited to be moving back up to a higher grade level. For those that don't know, my first 2 years of teaching, I taught 5th grade ELA, and then the end of my 2nd year, I started thinking about trying a different grade level. People were saying, you know, if you are unsure and you want to try something else, do it early on in your career so you don't get too settled, because then you'll never want to try something else out. At the end of my 2nd year of teaching, I made the decision to move down to 2nd grade. So my 3rd year of teaching, I taught 2nd grade, and like I said, it was not for me. I have an entire video about that, but in my last video that I think I filmed for YouTube, I had talked about how I was moving up to 6th grade and was really excited to get back to the older kids. So that was summer of 2019. Now here we are. So at that point, I was starting my 4th year. It was the 2019-2020 school year, which we all know how that ended. So I figured I would just kind of talk to you guys about what I've been doing the last few years. I'm still pretty active on social media, so for those of you that kind of follow me there, you know what I've been doing. I just have not done anything on YouTube the last few years, and I regret it terribly, but I have still been teaching, which is crazy to me to think about, because I have not consistently been on YouTube a long time, but I had my start on YouTube a very long time ago. I initially started YouTube, and I think this is where most people kind of found me, when I moved to college. So as a freshman, I was 18. I started making kind of college related videos. I did like some makeup too, like some beauty related videos, but I mostly did a lot of like college videos. And then as I got closer to graduating, I talked more about my student teaching experience, getting my first teaching job, and then my first year teaching. And YouTube has kind of been this community that has been with me through all those major things. And so I'm super regretful that I didn't really record anything the last 3 years of teaching, because those have been kind of monumental years with everything that has happened just with the world the last few years. I'm really regretting leaving YouTube, and I was kind of afraid that because I've been gone that, you know, people wouldn't even like remember who I am. But at the same time, one thing that kind of inspired me recently to come back was kind of posting on these other, you know, social media accounts. I still have people that will comment and they'll ask me like, when are you coming back to YouTube? Like, I started following you when I was in college, and now like I'm married with kids, and like all these crazy things. In my mind, I get kind of worried because I am so much older now. For those that don't know, like I started when I was 18, I'm 29 now. But at the same time, those people that watched me when I was that age, like they've grown up too. And so I'm hopeful that I still have a little bit of community here, because those people just mean a lot to me. So I really wanted to come back to YouTube, because I've just missed it terribly. Like I said, the last time that I was really posting videos was going into my 4th year of teaching. I'm about to start, next year will be my 7th year of teaching, which is crazy, especially for those of you that have been around since I was just a freshman in college. But I'm about to start my 7th year teaching next year. which is crazy. So the 2019-2020 school year was my first school year where I moved back up. I was with the older kids. I had this amazing school that I had joined. I had great people around me, and those were some of the best classes and students that I have ever had. But that school year was cut short because that was the school year where COVID hit in March. I literally sent my kids home for spring break and we never returned. So that was a really difficult time. And so leading into the next school year, there was a lot of anticipation about what the next school year would bring. I didn't know, would we even be in school? We didn't know until, a few weeks before the first day of school, they announced that we would be going back full-time, completely in person. I know a lot of people were virtual that school year. It was the 2020 to 2021 school year, but we went back completely in person, full-time. We did have a mask mandate though that entire year. So that was my second year of teaching sixth grade. And then this past school year was my third year teaching sixth grade. So the 2021-2022 school year, I taught sixth grade as well. So I just finished up my sixth year of teaching sixth grade ELA. As far as teaching, I'm still very much involved in that. For those of you that kind of follow me on Instagram and I have a TikTok now, you've seen parts of my teaching life the last few years. It's definitely been different the last few years. Like I said, I regret not sharing those things. Teaching is just a tough job. And so one of the main reasons that I wanted to come back to YouTube is I feel like it would be a really great outlet for me. I think about the whole time I was in college in my early 20s and that I had YouTube, and it really helped me through a lot. And teaching is just something that if you're not careful, it really can consume you. And I feel like YouTube just brings me so much joy. I love the community. I love sharing my passion. And I got a little bit worried now that I'm older, but I still have so many things that I want to share. And I had to remember that the people that watched me back then, they've gotten older too. I'm not at the same place in my life that I was back then, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't share things. I've had to kind of get in the right mindset for this. I have so many things that I want to catch up on with teaching the last few years that I want to share, and then just other things as well. In addition to teaching, one of the big changes and accomplishments of the last few years since I've been gone is I was able to purchase and build my own home, which has been something that I dreamed about for a long time. So the beginning of the 2020 school year, I actually closed on my first home that I bought on my own. So I started looking and getting into the whole process at the peak of COVID. So April of 2020, the housing market was in a great position. Interest rates were at an all-time low. I sound like a commercial. So I had really wanted to purchase my own home, and so I was able to build it, and I built it that summer, and I closed on it the beginning of the 2020 school year, at the end of August, which I remember being completely overwhelmed at that time in my life because we were coming back from being out of school for all those months, not knowing what the school year was going to look like. And then when I came back, we had all these new procedures as far as social distancing, and the kids were wearing masks, and I was trying to navigate teaching as I had never known it before. I had to rethink every single thing that I had done as a teacher prior to that, all my back to school activities. I had to kind of scratch all of that and just go into it with this new COVID mindset where kids had to stay away from each other and they were wearing masks and all this stuff. And in the midst of all that, I closed on my home. But it has definitely been, like I said, probably one of my biggest accomplishments in my life. It definitely has been, it was a struggle and continues to be something that I have to work really hard at because I did it as a single 29-year-old on a teaching salary, not just a teaching salary, an Oklahoma teaching salary. And we are very low in teacher pay. But I was able to buy my home, and I've lived here the last few years. So that's been really exciting. One thing I've kind of struggled with being 29 is societal norms and people feeling like you need to reach certain milestones at a certain age or do things in a certain order. And I didn't necessarily do that, I guess, because, I'm 29, I'm still single. some things have changed since I've been away from YouTube. That's not one of them. I'm still single. But I was able to do that and kind of have my own home. And I regret being gone from YouTube because I really wish that I would have shared more of that building process. I think that would have been really cool to look back on. I lived with my mom at the time when I was building my house, and she lives in a neighborhood not too far from here. And so I remember every night that summer, I would walk from her house to where my home was being built. And at that point, it was just like boards, but I would walk and I would just like walk around my house every night. And so I was able to see the whole process and pick out my colors. And so that was definitely something that I feel super proud of, but also something that as I get back into YouTube, I would like to share more of. So along with teaching related content, I want to share like home decor and home organization and things like that. So the last few years, I've just been kind of learning to navigate teaching. It definitely has changed. I know that a lot of teachers are leaving their profession because it's been hard the last few years, but I still have a lot of passion for this career and so many things that I want to share and so many like teaching ideas that I need to catch up from the last 3 years. I have so much I want to share. And I know that I have like filmed some things on Instagram or posted some things about some of the things that I've done and on TikTok, but I just am so excited to like get back to YouTube. And it's so strange to me because it does not matter how long I'm gone from YouTube. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 3 years apparently. And in my mind, I never once thought like, oh, I'm done with YouTube. I always, in the back of my mind, I was just taking a break. And so I'd always make comments like when I get back to YouTube, when I start filming again, and I just kept putting it off. Teaching kind of consumed me the last few years, just with all the changes. And if you're not careful, teaching is something that can kind of overtake your life. And I love it. And it's a career that I'm super passionate about. But for me, thinking back to my younger self, YouTube was a big outlet for me, and just kind of having something away from all the distractions of life that I truly, truly loved. And so I'm just excited to come back, and I'm a little worried that people will be like, who is this girl? Next year, I will still be teaching 6th grade. I have an amazing school, great community, great administration. A few new changes next year that I'm really excited about. The last few years I've just done 6th grade ELA, and I teach in an intermediate school, so it's a 5th and 6th grade school only. So in the morning I have my ELA classes, or English Language Arts classes, and then in the afternoon they have like, we call them life apps. I'm not sure why, but they're electives. And so every core teacher also teaches like an elective class. And so the last few years I've taught just like an enrichment ELA. So it was just like some extra projects along with ELA. But next year I'm jumping into some new responsibilities, some new classes I've never taught that I'm really excited about. I'm going to be teaching GATE for one of my elective classes, so Gifted and Talented. I've never taught it, but I'm looking forward to kind of the new challenges it will bring. I'm also going to be taking on a leadership class. So my school has kind of like a club that is a leadership club, but along with this club, they are enrolled in a class of leadership. So I'm teaching that as well. So definitely some new challenges. I'm also still doing yearbook next year. That is something that I started a couple years ago. I've done yearbook the last few years at my school, which has really opened a lot of creative outlets for me. So I'm excited about these things. I'm excited to share some of these things. Unfortunately, ELA, like my core subject, is kind of undergoing some changes in how it's viewed, and we're really being put under a microscope as far as it's being very scripted. Like we have a new curriculum next year. They're really being forced to kind of follow that lesson by lesson. I've never taught that way. So that was really hard for me. And so I really wanted to kind of take on some classes that would allow for me to have some creative outlets, because I need that in my life. And I think another reason that I am kind of piling my plate full of all these new things is I am having some anxiety about next school year and a lot of the changes that are happening, not just with the curriculum, but losing a dear friend. She's going to another position within the district, but when I was hired to teach 6th grade ELA, at the same time, another 6th grade ELA teacher was hired. Name's Tanya, and we just built a really close friendship. And teaching is one of those careers that if you don't have a good, strong community surrounding you, it can be very difficult because it's a draining job. So it's been so incredible to like have someone there that always motivated me. She was like my biggest fan, and she is like the most selfless, giving person I've ever met in my life. And so to have that friendship within your job is just, I feel like it's kind of unique. But she is, like I said, still in the district, took on a new job, but won't be around the corner from me. And she's kind of the person that I went to and talked about everything with. So that's going to be really difficult, but we're still going to, keep our friendship and try to talk and go to lunch and dinner and all that. But I feel like I am adding on things to my plate to kind of distract me from the fact that I am losing someone who was like my rock in teaching. Like I said, it's really nice to have those friendships with teaching and those people you can count on. I've experienced both things. The year that I taught 2nd grade, I didn't really have anyone that I talked to at the school. It was a very like isolating year. I remember feeling very alone, but yet it was the hardest year I've ever taught because I was in a position that I truly didn't really have a passion for. I loved teaching, but I missed the older kids so much that it was really hard. I remember I called my mom every single day of that school year, like at noon, because I remember that's when the kids went to lunch and recess, and I would call her and she'd have to give me like a pep talk just so that I could make it through the second half of the day, and I'd like cry on the phone to her. So I've been in that position where like you're at a school, you really don't have any other teachers to talk to. And now I'm at a school where I just have like this wonderful community, and I still have some great teachers around me, but Tanya was just a really, really wonderful friend. I hope that I am like her when I'm older because like I said, she just is the most selfless, giving, understanding, easy to talk to and work with person I've ever met, and I'm going to miss her terribly. Another kind of thing that is causing some anxiety is, for those of you that have been around my channel for a while, you know that a huge part of my life is being an aunt. So along with being a teacher, I have 2 nephews, and I just love those boys so much. I still share a lot of them on like Instagram. It's just been, a huge part of my life and will always be a big part of my life. But for those of you that have been around a while, Dayson, who you might remember as like a teeny tiny little toddler, because I used to film a bunch of videos with him, he is going to be going into 7th grade next year. But since I teach at a 5th and 6th grade school, the last 2 years he was in 5th and 6th, and so I took him to school every day and picked him up from school every day. And we have always been very close, but just having that time with him before and after school and like seeing him throughout the day was super comforting to me the last few years, especially the last few years navigating all the changes with teaching and having super hard days. Just having him there as like a little reminder of positivity and family and love. And so not having him next year, not spending that time with him, is going to also be really, really hard for me because like I said, he just sort of provided a sense of comfort, and I think that's kind of what my friend Tanya did too, like teaching with her. So I think part of me is piling my plate full of new classes and new challenges and new responsibilities to distract me from the fact that I'm so sad about not having Tanya and not having my nephew there. Healthy way to deal with your sadness? Probably not, but it's called coping. However, I am really excited about, taking on those new challenges. I always want to make sure that I am challenging myself and not getting too like stagnant in my career, but at the same time, I know that I'm going to be probably really busy. It's so strange to me because I'll like post something on Instagram or TikTok and someone will like it, and I'll recognize the username from like people who used to watch me in like 2011, 2012. So that's so crazy to me, but really, really cool. I am so sorry that I constantly do this thing the last few years where I come back and I leave, and I used to be at one point in time a really consistent YouTuber, but I started teaching and it just, you know, YouTube kind of, I put it on the back burner and then consistently put it on the back burner over and over again. But I am so thankful to those of you that have kind of stuck around. You have absolutely no reason to have stuck around and still stayed subscribed the last few years, because I haven't been posting anything. So it would have made sense for you to unsubscribe and be like, who is this girl? She apparently is, you know, gone for good. But I know that some people have stuck around and still message me on Instagram and ask me when I'm coming back to YouTube. So thank you so much to those of you that have just been there the last, you know, decade of my life. But I'm so excited to really kind of put my heart and soul back into YouTube and kind of share all these new things in my life. So I'm so excited to share like all the teaching related content. I really want to do classroom setup videos this year. I want to do home decor. I'm really into reading and books, so I want to share that. Like I have so many different things that I want to do. So I hope that you guys will enjoy that. And like I said, I just appreciate so much that you stuck around all these years. If you are someone who has been subscribed, I'd love for you to leave a comment and just let me know like how you're doing, what you've been up to. If you're just coming across this video and you are brand new, I would love for you to subscribe. Like I said, I have so many things. I already have a whole list of YouTube videos planned for the month of July. Lots of teaching things, as well as some home decor things, some travel things. I'm going to Florida at the end of July. So I'd love for you to subscribe and kind of join me on my teaching and life journey. So I suppose that is all. I know that was kind of a whirlwind of things kind of thrown out, but I thought long and hard about like, what should my first video back to YouTube be? And it just felt kind of odd after 3 years, like popping back with a regular video, like, no, I hadn't been gone. So I wanted to at least film something, just kind of like letting you know what I've been doing the last few years. Like I said, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for sticking around. And if you're joining me for the first time, thank you for watching this video. I have so many things planned and I'm so excited. So I suppose that is all for this video, and I will see you in my next one very soon. Bye guys.